So I will, well, I guess we can talk about that, but let's do that. Okay, so review assignment 1, and I try to gear them similar to what I'm going to have you do on an exam, but you have to do it within the allotted time frame, so 50 minutes that we have for the practical exam. And I've already said 100 times that any assignment that this exam test is on, I will not accept any scores for that after the exam. Even if you say, well, it passed back on September 30th, well, too bad, you should have told me to go back and regrade it. So it's on you to tell me to go back and put the score in Canvas if I haven't already done it. Okay, so here's some of the things as a review, to have you get ready for. On your DNS slave, find the short names of the process ancestry for the named process. Oh, this is the resource related to resources. So, what process ancestry? What do we mean?
Parent, bids, and that stuff.
Yeah, go all the way back to init or system D, whichever one's, I think it's going to be system D, you'll see at the top. So from system D all the way down to this process, show me the ancestry. You can use PS tree. Short names, what does it mean by short names? So if I look at PS tree, those are the short names actually. Versus if you're looking at, say, PSAUX, yeah, that's a long name right there. User lib Firefox. The short name would just be Firefox. That's what I mean by short name. Okay. On your DNS slave, find the percentage of CPU used by the named process. Also find the percentage of RAM used by named. What commands are used for that?
Top.
Top could be useful, yep. PS. On your DNS slave, find the amount of non-kernel reserved RAM, amount of RAM not assigned to processes. What command did we use for that? What does it mean, non-kernel reserved RAM? So the kernel is a process that's running, and it has to run in RAM, and we're always going to guarantee the kernel has enough RAM to run, otherwise
it won't run.
It won't.
Yeah, we can compare.
Yeah, kernel down. So what command did we use for that? Free. Oh, there's a hint right there. Free. Okay. On your DNS slave, find the total amount of space on the root file system and the amount of space that is not assigned to files. So what command can I use for that? One at a time. DF?
Yeah,
DU, maybe? I would say DF, the total amount of space on the root file system, with a DF command, or some modification of it. Find the amount of disk space used by the lib modules directory. What command? I just said it. What's it? DU, yeah. Okay, on your web server, create users, all right? On your web server, create groups. Add these users to the group. On your web server, make the UMask, change the UMask to a certain value. So, and I'm just talking through this. This is a review, so I would suggest having it in by Friday, and then if we want to go over it on Monday and do the whole thing together as a class, we can do that. But, or answer any questions, we can do that. Ownership and permissions, so you're making a directory, you're going to chown, chmod, make out the right permissions and the right ownership. You're going to log in as a particular user and create a file. Partitions. This also covers the file systems assignments. So that means we need to have all our file systems assignments in by the practical exam. So some of you that are lingering back on the first file systems assignment, let's figure out what the problem is and get you up to date. So making partitions. Now, if I say make 4 new logical partitions, that means you're going to go back and use your MS-DOS machine for this review assignment. I'm pretty sure on the practical, I'm going to have to go look, but I'm pretty sure my image is formatted as GPT. So anyway, creating a partition is the same either way, right?
Would we have to make
except you won't have primary and logical.
Would we need to box form on the?
No, no,
Okay.
no. I'm just gonna give you a machine, I'll say create partitions of whatever format that's already installed. And then you're gonna have to make ext file systems, or VFAT, or NTFS. So this one says ext with certain parameters, there's VFAT with certain parameters. Mount them in a certain path, put entries in fstab, make sure they're all mounted, run discog, run inodecog, and files, submit a file. So, as you go through that over the next few days and finish up your file systems assignments, then we can talk about what problems you're having and make sure you're ready for this exam. I won't ask us any questions on this yet, because I'll let you go through it first, and then come with any questions that you have. Okay, I think one second. I thought we had some screenshots here for this review.
With the practicals, how fast do we get a grade back concepts?
I try to bring it back the next time we meet. That's why I don't have a link to this, but whatever. So, because our next quiz on Friday is HTTP. And so today I'm reviewing a little bit about HTTP. Wednesday I'm reviewing a little bit about file systems, because that's what our next quiz is on. And anyway, we're just kind of in review mode and answer question mode. So please come with the questions you have, and let's talk about it. I know that less than half of you are done with file systems assignment. So if you have questions, you're not the only one struggling, so please don't hesitate to ask questions in class. Okay, so HTTP, we know what it stands for, and these are some of the commands that we learned. A to incite, A to discite, I don't know if we saw that one, but that would disable a site. And A to incite just creates a symlink going from sites enabled over to sites available. The other thing that and I've said this before in this class, obviously I'm picking a tool to teach each one of these concepts. The concepts are similar if I wasn't installing Apache, but if I was installing Nginx, for example, another web server, concepts are very, very similar. Syntax is going to be a little different. They don't call them virtual hosts. They call them server blocks or something like that. Anyway, but the ideas are very much the same, and okay. A2N mod, what did that do? Did we ever do that one?
I don't remember.
Looks like it enables a module.
It enables a module, such as, for example, PHP. But when we do a sudo apt install PHP, it automatically knows that we want that module to be enabled, so it enabled it for us. So we didn't actually have to execute that command. We just had to do something like this: apt get install libapache2 mod PHP, or apt get install PHP, or apt get install php-mysql to for that php-mysql functionality. We learned about virtual hosts, so we should be comfortable looking at the syntax of a virtual host file and understanding what to put there. What's document root mean?
That's where the files are served.
So our files are served out of our file system. And we have to have the correct permissions on that directory so that others, world, can get into it, right? So you'd have to chmod, maybe. It's a possibility, you might have to chmod something, or chown, maybe, to make that accessible. Server name, we give it the fully qualified domain name of our server. We talked about DNS for web. We should understand the difference between a CNAME and an A record. What's a CNAME? Yeah, an alias to an A record just points to an A record.
So you can have multiple.
Yep. I got multiple CNAMEs point to a single A record. What's an A record then?
Isn't that the IP address?
Name to IP. So it converts a name to an IP. and we should understand that and how to add A records, at least when we get to the practical, we should understand that. Index, oh, we did talk a little about the index page, index.html. The main problem that I